today I'm signing an executive order encouraging police departments nationwide to adopt the highest professional standards to serve their communities.
And that executive order would ban chokeholds by officers unless their life is in danger. The order aiming to set a national standard for the use of force, as well as increase information sharing to weed out police officers with records of excessive force so they can't just hop from one department to another.
So what does the presidential order mean for Mobile Police? Well, Fox News' Shelby Myers went to get reaction from Mobile Police Chief Lawrence Batiste. And Shelby, the chief was telling you he appreciates the president's words, but he's way ahead of the game.
Yeah, that's right, Byron. The chief tells me he's grateful the president signed this order, but he doesn't need anyone to tell him change is needed in his department because he's always looking for ways to be the best.
We will have reform without undermining our many great and extremely talented law enforcement officers.
With the stroke of his pen, President Trump approving new guidelines for officers as national unrest over police brutality continues.
I'm thankful that the president entered an order or an executive order of such. But again, until we get to the point where we're utilizing, it's not just words, it has to be action. Until we actually put it into action, again, it's just somebody's signature on a piece of paper.
The president's guidelines coming after the death of George Floyd at the hands of a Minneapolis police officer sparked protest across the nation. The executive order putting a ban on chokeholds unless it's a life or death situation for the officer, creating a database that tracks when an officer uses excessive force, and allowing mental health, homelessness, and addiction experts to assist police on some calls. Mobile Police Chief Lawrence Batiste telling me a chokehold is not even a technique taught to his officers, and it hasn't been for at least 20 years in the state of Alabama. But he's always open to new ways of policing.
I just really believe if you're doing anything in life and you're never moving forward, you're moving backwards. Because if you're standing still, people are passing you, which means you're getting further and further behind. So, yeah, there's a need for reform.
Critics of the president say it's not enough. Defunding police is a more intense reform widely preached by some. When you see protesters out there right now holding up signs to defund the police, to defund the men and women who work for your job, what do you think? What goes through your head?
I think initially what I think is this. Sometimes people act on emotion. And when you're acting on emotion, you're not really reasonable in your list of demands and what you want from the person that you're emotional against. So I believe that those people that are emotional, that if we allow some time from them to calm down from the heat of the moment emotion that they're feeling, and then we sit down at the table and start talking about what is it they really want to see happen. The other part of it is what I've always said is this, from my perspective, it's not a systemic problem. It's an individual officer problem.
Now, there are some who say police training should be longer and more intense. I asked the chief about that, and he says you can't ask to defund the police and ask for more training because training costs money. In the studio tonight, Shelby Myers, Fox 10 News.